Welcome to my office. Come on in. All right, you want to talk about how to overcome fear? Great. Grab yourself a cup of coffee, have a seat. We'll talk about it. Hey, I was just reading about a relevant story here about the great Russian master spy Comrade J, who was stationed in Manhattan. Told a story directly related to what you're talking about, how to overcome fear. And this is actually an example of someone who's paralyzed by fear. Let me read it to you. This happened when Sergei first arrived in Manhattan, and this was his new resident. This is his boss, and he hears about him. He hears about him from a comrade. He was told, "You're in deep shit with Koval as your resident." He was warned by a peer. "You have my condolences. What's wrong with him? You'll discover for yourself soon enough." So this is at age 57. He finds out his resident is Koval was only 3 years from mandatory retirement. He was afraid of his own shadow. You can just imagine, though. You can just imagine what it was really like. You want to talk about fear? This is an environment where you're surrounded by backstabbers. A lot of these people spend their free time, when they have time, digging up dirt on each other in order to, you know, take each other out and rise up in order to fill the void. So, or set them up, or set somebody up, maybe get revenge, dig up some dirt, even manufacture some dirt on your one of your peers. So Koval was afraid of his own shadow. He just wanted to survive those 3 years. Sergei claimed he had nervous tics. He was scared to death of the center and was mentally and physically incapable of making any major decisions. So this guy's like catatonic with fear. And I'll tell you a couple of stories. I'll tell you a couple of stories about how to overcome fear. One is a personal story, and then I'll tell you one about how Master Spy Comrade J uh, overcame fear. My personal story was when I was a long time ago. I was a small town reporter, and I had always had a terrible fear of uh, parachuting because coming from a parachuting town, I used to see him jumping, and I'd read in the local paper about sometimes the chutes didn't open. And so, like this one time, this farmer is out there, in his farm, and he's running his tractor, and he sees something falling from the sky, and it goes boom like that, really bounces 20 feet up in the air. And of course, that's a skydiver whose chute didn't open. And I had read that article, so I had this terror of parachuting, but also, I wanted to overcome my fear. And so, as a reporter, I went down to in a different town. I went down to their parachuting event business, and I said, "Hey, look, I'll do a story. We'll put it on the nightly news. You just give me a free parachuting lessons and let me go parachuting." And he goes, "Yes." And then immediately I was struck with terror because it's like, oh, now like I believed that my chute was going to be that one that didn't open, and so for the next week, I was nauseated with fear. Like I went down to I thought to overcome this, I'll just go down to the library. I'll get a book on Medal of Honor winners, and I'll read this book, and that'll give me fear. So I did that, and maybe helped just a little bit. But I was still nauseated with fear. But at least I figured nobody's going to be shooting at me while I'm plummeting toward the ground. So anyway, I what happened was is as the it just got worse and worse as the week went on. Finally, I showed up, I took the lessons, and nothing helped. And then finally, the plane started up. I got into the plane. Literally the moment I got on the plane, my fear vanished. It was gone because, like at that point, there was nothing I could do to stop it. Right? It's over. I mean, it's like I was totally committed at that point. And for some reason, that fear just went away at that point. Even when I jumped, I had no fear. I was totally fearless. It probably helped that I was on camera at that time too, because I wasn't going to act like a coward, right on for the nightly news. But anyway, no, I really wasn't afraid. I jumped, no problem. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Now let me tell you about Comrade J, who was the famous. Actually, there's this book called Comrade J, and written about him. And this is post Cold War, but how he overcame fear. Uh, it says here, fear in this context is the main enemy, and it must be replaced by fact-based analysis, deep professional knowledge, and intuition. Every decision must be taken exceptionally thoroughly. Everything must be pre-calculated. Yes, risk is inevitable, but without taking pre-calculated risk, one would never be able to make a successful career and will always drink the water. Okay. So in other words, fear is the main enemy, and it must be replaced by fact-based analysis. General Patton said something similar. He says, "Get the facts to beat the fear. Have the faith to beat the fear, but you also have to get the facts to make the decision." So you have to have, according to General Patton, you have to get the faith to overcome the fear, but you also have to get the facts in order to make the decision. And this is what Comrade J is also talking about: is do the analysis, get the facts, do the analysis, and to overcome the fear. A lot of times, fear is caused by what we don't know and the unknowns. So I think that's how they're approaching it too. So those are a couple of approaches, or also just getting in as a teacher for I was terrified by fear for in the beginning, and so just doing it, just throwing yourself into the arena day after day, eventually the fear just goes away just by doing it. So there you go. Thanks for dropping by my office. Glad to see you. Hope that was helpful. And come by again some other time soon. We'll talk to you soon. Fight on, my friends.